everybody, this is Brian.
Jason.
And this is the Perfectly Screwed podcast. So, what's been going on? Have a good Christmas?
Yeah.
Good New Year's?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, things obviously aren't as exciting as you got it going right now.
Yeah, my car's locked and won't open up.
Waiting for the cops to pull up to unlock your car.
I don't want to talk about it, man. I'm not... that car pisses me off sometimes, I tell you what.
Well...
Having issues. Issues, I tell you.
All cars have issues, and then they're...
The key issue is a problem.
They're multiplied when it gets really cold.
Yeah, well, the key issue is a problem.
And what sucks is, next week it's going to be really cold.
I don't want to talk about it. I just won't lock the motherfucker. Well, actually, I will. I'll get a battery for my key fob and then...
Just don't lock it till you get the battery.
Yeah, well, clearly. Duh. I'll go get a battery immediately. But hopefully the key works on the starter. That's what I worry about. If the fucker won't start, then we got a real issue and I got to get a key. But beside the point.
Yeah.
Beside the point. I want to give a shout out to two new listeners. Both of them which were recent. One guy, his name is Michael. The other is a girl named Jesslyn.
What up, Mike? Jess?
Yeah, Jess and Mike. We want to say hi to them. Jess is actually here in Indiana. Mike's from Aussie. Both are new listeners.
Nice.
Mike said he is very happy with our podcast and is going to listen. From old Sydney, Australia. Jess is from right here in Wabash, Indiana, which we've got a listener close by now.
Yeah, that is close.
So, Jess watches us on the old YouTube. Mike does it on Samsung Free. So I want to say hi to our two new listeners that told me they were listening. So,
nice.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We do. So who are we talking about today, Jason? We're going back to true crime.
Dennis Rader.
Yeah, psychopath motherfucker. Oh, God, where to start with him?
The BTK.
TK, yeah. Bind, torture, kill. You know he gave himself that name?
Yeah.
Yeah. In 1974. Of course he's a narcissist.
He's always been one of my...
One of your favorites, was it?
I mean, I know, it's hard to... right? It's a hard...
I like the guy that binds, tortures, and kills young women.
I guess one of the most interesting, intriguing serial killers. I know.
He's not intriguing, really.
One of my favorite serial killers.
He's one of my favorites.
Like,
you
that's
know,
the wrong
Dennis...
word, but he always did intrigue me because he's like the first one that I ever got into where like this dude is fucking with the cops.
Yeah, he did.
You know what I mean?
He did fuck with them.
Like, he not only obviously gets off on killing, he was equally got off on deceiving the fucking authorities, which, you know, we've... in all these cases, they all have something in common, Brian.
A little bit.
All of them have one thing in common. That's the incompetence of the police. And Dennis Rader, he was making it a game, and he was winning.
Yeah, until if he had never started again, he would have won. He would have got away with his original crimes because he's interesting for a few reasons. Because see, Dennis, unlike a lot of serial killers, well, there's two reasons he's very interesting. He's one of the few that, for all intents and purposes, like Bundy, which is the only other one that I really can name down and nail down, he had a normal childhood. Most of these that we look at, you look and you go back and you say, yeah, they were crazy, they were psychopaths, but there was a trigger mechanism. There was something in their past that almost you could see why they became the person they were.
Yeah.
But then you look at Rader and you look at Bundy, and neither one in their childhood had the trauma that you see in like Gacy and Kemper and Eileen Wuornos and even Ramirez. You know, you can go back with those guys and go, yeah, I see it. You know, I see what caused you to go astray. Whereas Rader and Bundy also, perfectly normal middle class upbringing, perfectly loving family.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
You know,
that was the other thing I was going to say about Rader is he was also the guy when I first saw whatever it was on him, documentary or whatever, that is like the perfect example of no matter where you are, right, in society, like you can be at the store, you can be at work, you could be walking around the neighborhood, you could be at the high school football game, and he could be a serial killer, he could be a serial killer, he could be a, like, you know what I mean, he blended in
perfectly.
So perfectly, and so normally, that you would never expect it, which is why you should always expect it.
Well, see, a lot of them did. I mean, if you look at serial killers for the most part, except for a few outliers, like you got, obviously, Ramirez, who was, I mean, if you looked at him, you would immediately go, wow, probably should stay away from that guy. Or Wuornos, you know, Eileen, she was completely off her rocker.
A lot of them obviously were in society.
But most of them, yeah, they blend.
But a lot of them, anybody with any sense at all, some people you could look at and you're like, that motherfucker is psycho.
Yeah.
Serial killer, maybe not. Psycho, for sure. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And, well...
But like Rader, Bundy, you wouldn't just look at them in normal everyday life and be like, look at that psychopath.
Correct.
But you wouldn't.
Right. And Kemper was the same way. Like, if you looked at Kemper, for all intents and purposes...
Kemper's a pro.
Gacy...
Kemper!
You know, Gacy blended in perfectly. Kemper.
Kemper. The girl was locked in the truck with the keys.
In the car. Not in the trunk. She was in the front seat.
In the truck. In the truck.
Yeah, in the truck.
In the truck.
Yeah.
Had the keys. Doors locked. Kemper's outside.
He convinces her to open the door. Hey, baby, look, I won't kill you if you just open this door. I
was going to. I did. I got you in here. I drove you out here.
I was going to kill you.
And I was going to kill you. But I made this mistake. You can leave. But
I just want to know what he said. I wish I could have been there just to hear how he convinced this chick that he had not only drove out to the middle of nowhere against her will, but then had smacked her repeatedly and tried to strangle her before locking himself out of the car, convinced her, hey, could you just open that door for me? Could you just open the door?
Yeah, if I ever have access to time travel, that's one place I gotta go back to.
I gotta see. Yeah, I mean, I might die, but I gotta see.
I know, what a dilemma. So if you like time travel back to watch that interaction, but now you're there, do you have to stop Kemper? Like, I don't know the rules.
Well, see, but
anyway, BTK.
But BTK, but not only did he grow up perfectly normal, but like you said, he's one of those that, for all intents and purposes, he quit for a long period of time, which is, again, very rare in serial killer cases.
Yeah.
Almost unheard of, really. He stopped he had a very large cool-down period. Some of them have shorter cool-down periods, and there's always this cool-down period where they don't murder in between. But this man went from 91 all the way to 2005 and had a cool-down period. And that's very rare in these cases where you have that huge stretch of I'm not going to do nothing without being locked up or something and then going right back to it.
91 to 2005.
Yeah. Where is it? Where is that? But see, the thing was about Dennis Rader. Anyways, as I was saying, he's different because he stopped for a little while. But let's get into some Rader here. So, like I said, he had a normal childhood for the most part. But as a young child, say teenage, he admits to a lot of things because they've done a lot of interviews. See, this is the thing about Rader. Rader loved beyond belief attention. Okay, and a lot of serial killers do, but Rader was 100%.
Yeah.
I want everybody to know what I fucking did.
Yep.
So he's done a lot of interviews with psychiatrists, psychologists, and different people to tell them his side of the motherfucking story. So we have a lot of information about things that he said. So he said himself that he lived a perfectly normal life as a child. His dad worked 2 jobs. He had a mother and father. They were happily married. No abuse, nothing like that. But he, at a young age, liked to abuse farm cats.
Where's he from?
Kansas.
Okay.
I think originally, let's see, he killed people in Wichita and Park City, Kansas. But he's from Kansas. I think he's from Pittsburgh, Kansas, I want to say. I want to say for sure. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, let's see. I'm sure. Yeah, Pittsburgh, Kansas.
Okay.
He was born in 1945. So, but he said at a young age he abused farm cats, and what he would do is, and this is fucking nutty, he would form a box, lure the cats from the barn into the box, with a hole in the top where their head could stick out. And as they poked their hole out to get the food, he would put a noose around their neck and hang the cats. And he said their cries, which he said sounded like a female, when they screamed, would turn him on sexually.
Wow.
Yeah. He also said, at a young age, one of the first things...
What the...
He said he saw his mother's hand get caught under a sofa while she was cleaning one day. She was stuck. Her dress and her hand got stuck on a spring under the sofa. And he said that the look of fear and terror in his eyes when she screamed for him to go get somebody to help her got him hard. And that's when he first knew Jason.
That's when he knew there was something.
So
there was a screw loose. There was a screw loose here.
A little bit.
Okay.
Then in 5th grade was his first real sexual excitement. 5th grade, he had a teacher, and the teacher was very emasculating, especially to the weaker kids. See, this is the thing. Rader was, by all accounts, like a nerdy,
yeah, he's a dork,
weaky, dorky kid, and he had no power over his bullies and stuff. And he said he was bullied at school quite a bit. But there was a 5th grade teacher that emasculated him and all the weaker kids quite a lot. So,
a woman?
Yeah, a woman. And so, Rader went and started peeping Tommy on this bitch. He started like watching her through the windows and stuff. So one day he bound himself to a fence outside her window. And when he bound himself to the fence and watched her undress, he said he ejaculated for the first time, and then he knew. He knew that it was about the binding that got him there. So he would then tie himself to beds and stuff to get that same feeling and cause himself to ejaculate just from being tied to a bed.
Just like his mom was stuck.
Yeah. But he would tie himself and
Yeah,
bind
yeah,
himself up. And this kind of led his fantasy to grow. You see what I'm saying? Like at first he was just doing it to himself. And then as he got older, this fantasy stuck in his fucking mind where he actually had to perpetrate this on other people to get that same feeling. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So, in 1974 was when he committed his first actual crime. Now, he had broke into places before this. Let's see. He had committed burglaries a few times before this, broken in, and he said himself that these were more like practices. See, because Rader was something unlike, and this is something that sets him apart from a lot of serial killers too. He was very organized. He was what we consider an organized offender. And there is a, unlike when we spoke about like Ramirez, for instance. Ramirez was just completely unorganized. Whoever he found at that moment,
Yeah.
he was just going to kill him.
Right.
You know, and Rader was completely opposite. Rader would stalk his victims. He would do practice runs, sometimes even going to their house, knocking on their door as a delivery man or something else he would pose as to see the family. He would watch them. He organized the whole thing, cutting the phone lines, doing different things. So he knew exactly what he was doing and where he was going before he ever got in that. He was very, very organized, almost like Bundy was.
Yeah, he was organized to the point because he knew he was going to fuck with the cops.
Yeah.
So he knew what he had to do to not get caught.
Right. But see, like Bundy was the same way. He was very organized. Whereas you got different ones, like Kemper, for instance. When we talked about Edmund Kemper,
he's the one that picked up all the...
Yeah, he just would randomly cruise around and he would pick them up. So he wasn't organized. It was like spur of the moment with Kemper. You know what I'm saying? He saw a girl and that triggered...
He wasn't organized, but I felt like he like, because he would, for a while, he would just pick up random hitchhikers.
Right. Well, that's how he started.
Like he got a feel for how easy it would be.
Yeah, to pick up somebody.
Although his victims were never planned. Right.
Unlike BTK and Bundy, where Bundy and Rader set out, would watch their victims for a little while, and then plan the attack.
Right.
See, Bundy is interesting, though, because Bundy went both ways, if you think about it. And in certain aspects of it, Bundy was very organized.
Right.
But in certain aspects, and there was a few crimes of Bundy's, where it was spur of the moment opportunity kind of thing, and Bundy just grabbed the girl and, you know, did the thing.
Yeah.
But for the most part, Bundy was organized. Rader was extremely organized. There's a lot of them that are organized like that. And then, but you have them like what we said, like Kemper. Eileen Warnos was another unorganized killer, where she would randomly find guys and it just, something set her off and she'd do it. Ramirez was completely unorganized. Ramirez, whatever happened to tickle his fancy that day, he would just, boop, there, oh, look at that.
Right.
We'll just walk in and kill somebody. Yeah. But Rader was completely different. Rader would stalk his victims meticulously, plan the whole crime before he did it, wait for the perfect opportunity, and then strike. So, let's see. Here's some confirmed murders. Now, we know the first one was January 15th, 1974. And it was the Otero family. And they were murdered in Wichita. And before we go any further, I should say this. Okay, you got to understand something of why this one is so fascinating for a lot of reasons, besides the fact of him being extremely organized and all of that. You've got to understand Wichita, 1974. Okay, you're talking about middle America, middle of the Bible Belt. Crimes didn't happen there. You had crimes like, if you look at Ramirez and Kemper and Bundy, East Coast, West Coast kind of thing, and crimes were normal in, say, New York City or LA.
Sure. Bigger
or
cities.
even Washington,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? The East Coast, West Coast had a lot of crime. But you didn't have crimes, especially not murders of this nature, in Wichita, Kansas in 1974.
I mean, the more population density, the greater the risk of
Well,
crime.
I mean, Wichita was a big city, but you still didn't
Still,
have
but-
those
right.
type of crimes, especially this type of
Right.
crime, in Wichita in 74. It just was unheard of in middle America, especially
Yeah.
the Bible Belt, to have this
Wichita's
type of thing.
Yeah, Wichita's a big city, but it's still like a small town community feel.
Right, right. And in 74, it was probably a very small town
Sure.
community feel.
That's what yeah.
And you didn't have, like, Nebraska, Kansas, Indiana, you didn't have these type of things.
Which, I mean, never to downplay the incompetence of the police, but think about it, like,
Yeah, let's not downplay their
I'm
incompetence.
not going to downplay it that much, but if you think about it, in the circumstances like you're talking, in this circumstance where there isn't this crime, right?
Right.
There isn't a lot of this going on, so it's not like they have a lot of practice.
Right, right,
Like,
yeah.
you're going at it blindly, basically.
Well, also in 74, you got to realize psychology was still in its infancy.
Yeah.
These type of crimes in 1974 were unheard of anywhere. You know, serial killers were not as well known as they are today.
Yeah.
So, you know, this was a brand new thing to the police.
Yeah, and the other thing is, it's like, what would you think? Who the fuck's doing it?
Yeah.
Because it's like, am I supposed to believe that somebody from here, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
from this nice neighborhood, this nice community,
Right,
is actually out here murdering people?
right.
You know, or is it somebody that's coming in from outside? Like,
Yeah.
you have no fucking
And
clue.
at first, are these crimes related?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's freaky to think about. You know what I mean? That the person right next fucking door could be a serial killer.
Right. Well, okay, so on January 15, 1974, he murders the Otero family, or Otero family, in Wichita. The victims were Joseph Otero Sr., Julia Maria Otero, Joseph Joey Otero II, Josephine Josie Otero. Their bodies were discovered by the family's 3 older children who had been at school at the time of the killing. Now, Josephine was only 11 and Joey was only 9.
Okay.
He claimed that he first targeted the family 2 months prior, had stalked them. He targeted them when he saw Julie leaving to take her children to school and followed them. On the morning of January 15th, Rader cut the phone lines and entered the Otero residence. When Joey opened the back door for the family dog, Rader told the Otero family that he was a wanted man in California before he ordered them to lie on the living room floor at gunpoint. Then he led the family into the bedroom, bound them with rope he had prepared. Joseph and Joey were on the floor while Julie and Josie were on the bed. The wrists and feet of Joseph and Julie were restrained. Joseph's head was covered by a plastic bag, which Rader then secured with ropes. Joseph chewed a hole into the bag, so he put another bag over his head, causing him to slowly suffocate to death. He attempted to strangle Julie, later recalling, Mrs. Otero woke back up. She was pretty upset.
She's pretty upset.
She was pretty upset with what was going on. She asked me to save her son, so I took the bag off her head. She screamed, "You killed my boy, you killed my boy." After this initial realization and shock, she communicated, "God have mercy on your soul." And then I put her down permanently. He said I strangled her to death with a rope. He said, with both parents dead, I placed another plastic bag and 2 t-shirts and an additional bag over Joey's head. Watching him as he thrashed and suffocated gave me pleasure sexually and an erection. Jesus fucking Christ, son.
Man.
You know, every case that we do, I gotta think to myself, at this point, don't you just think to yourself, I mean, even though you clearly are a psychopath, something has gotta sit there and go, you know, I'm really fucking crazy. I am just fucking out of my goddamn mind, bruh.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, something has to be in your head. There's gotta be a little voice in the back going, you know, it's amazing how actually insane I fucking am. I mean, just logically.
I mean, yeah, I think we all have that.
Well, there's got to be something there that says, hey, I am a fucking nutbag.
Some people just have the, I don't know, obviously the ability to turn it off, but we all have the ability to turn it off, but there's all, like this cigarette. How fucking insane am I to smoke this cigarette? And you know what I mean? I know it's fucking terrible. I know I shouldn't fucking do it. You know what I mean? I know I shouldn't drink 32 ounces of fountain pop and fucking eat McDonald's 6 times a week. I shouldn't. It's fucking insane. But I can't stop. I'm not saying they're the same thing. Obviously on levels of good and evil.
Right. Yeah.
But in your mind, you know what I mean? In his mind, like, it's like sex. Right? You know what I mean? Is it not psycho to get to bang some fucking crazy bitch that you know's bad news, but you do it because you want the feeling?
I don't know. I don't bang crazy bitches, but
Well, I'm just saying, like, I don't know what's going on in their mind, but yes, there's no way that these motherfuckers are doing this shit, and inside their own mind, they know it's wrong. They know it's crazy. They know it is. How would you not?
Well, hey, she's a crazy bitch, but the pussy's so good, I'm just on top of it.
Right. It just happens to be what gets this dude off. You know what I mean?
Anyways,
is hanging cats screaming like chicks. like chicks. I mean,
wee!
like who even thinks of that?
I don't know.
D-Raids, that's it.
Okay, so anyways, he kills the boy. Got a hard on. So after that, he took the 11-year-old girl Josie down to the basement. He hung her with a noose from a pipe and ejaculated all over her hanging body.
It's crazy.
Okay. He then wrote a letter and stashed it inside an engineering book in the Wichita Public Library describing the killings in detail. So, I got it. Let's get to this real quick, and then we'll end this little chapter and we'll get on to part 2 on the next one, guys. He does this horrific murder. Then, as part of humor, clearly, he describes it in detail, and just for shits and giggles, he goes to the Wichita Public Library and puts it inside a book.
Right.
Doesn't say which book, just a random book he found at the library, like, hey, I wonder if anybody's going to find this detailed description of how I tortured and murdered these people.
Right.
Kind of like a little private joke for old Raider. Not saying you're crazy, bruh. All I'm saying is you're not normal, son.
He's fucking crazy.
You're crazy as hell.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is part 1 on Dennis Rader. We will continue with more of his nonsense on part 2. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next time.
Later.